Afternoon everyone, so today we're at a Peugeot. It's a Peugeot 3008 and it's a 2015 model. Customer's complaint, shut that door. The engine management light is on and it's coming up with some faults in it. Well, I think we can ignore that because I think that's probably because the scanner's connected. But the engine management light's on and it's also got a misfire. Now, let's see here. There you go. It's missing. Hopefully you can hear that. So anyway, we've done a full scan using the launch. So the engine code, a P0262 injector control 1 circuit. Short circuit between two wires. So that can either actually be a wiring fault or the injector fault. So I think it's maybe piezo's that's on this. The anti-lock braking system hit's got a, what's that, a C1391 non-confirmation of engine torque not characterised. Now I would think that code there's generated because of that injector, and it's also got a fault in the communication with the injector management because of that fault. So we can ignore the ABS thing at the moment, and everything else is dandy. So we'll go and just have a little visual. We'll go into this permanent fault. Go into that there. Read codes again. So injector control 1, short circuit between two wires. So what we could do is disconnect that injector 1 and see if it goes to open circuit, and that would prove it's the injector it's causing the short circuit. Right, we'll go and do that. So this will be quite difficult. It needs a bit of stripping down in order to get into these injectors. I think we need to take that down to Roddy's. But here are they. Is that the one there? That's maybe one there. I would imagine this is injector number 4, but let's try and disconnect that first of all and see what code that generates. So I've disconnected the number 1 injector. We'll leave it this side and I'll go and show you the scan tool. So you can see the fault codes now went to intermittent. So indeed, the short circuit is within that injector. So no point mucking about, order up a new injector, get it coded and get it running. Right, been caught here. The one I've disconnected, injector number 4, I did think that, I hadn't refreshed the scan tool. So that permanent fault is still within number 1. So what you need to do is, you can actually hear it. We're now down to 2 cylinders. So we'll disconnect, we'll put the engine off, we'll reconnect that injector. But what we'll do is, we'll clear the fault code memory. Make sure I did that. Input mileage your car. 35,234. 35,234. Okay. It's just a bit go there, me man. Well. You've got to get this 12-second couldn't do. So indeed, that's injector number 4. Having a bad day, so we'll reconnect that. And again, that's them back in. Trouble codes. Let's see, read them again. So no, it's only till when it starts. So it's sounding a bit better now actually. So we're still 1 cylinder down. So read the fault code. So permanent. So what we'll do is we'll key on engine off, key back on. So go back, we'll read the fault codes again. See, it now goes to intermittent, and that's just putting the key on and off. So that would prove it's not a hard fault within the wiring. That is with the injector. As soon as it tries to actuate the injector, that's when the problem occurs. So the injector that we are after is in there. So we'll come back to it. So back again at Peugeot. So we ordered a new injector, and we'll have to code that in. So I've took a screenshot of the coding at the top there. I think it's a 6-digit code. Anyway, we'll check out when we get to the scan tool. So in order to get to this injector, we had just to push back the air filter housing, disconnect number 4 injector, disconnect the leak off. So that was a bit painful to get that. See the wee green thing, it goes up and down. So you've got to pull it up, then retract off the injector. And then there's a keeper, and then there's a bolt. Now the bolt is reusable, which is unlike Volkswagen. So you just nip up as hard as it can go, then give it a quarter turn, and you're good to go. So once we code it in, the guy was telling me, take these Peugeots a run. They need a run up to 70 miles an hour, then decelerate so it can relearn. Because he said initially when you start it, it can pop and bang and sound absolutely terrible. But after your run, it'll sound smooth as anything. So let's put the new one in, see how that goes. Default codes. So we now go into special functions. We go for replacement parts. And we go replacement of injector number 1. So here's the car shutting down. So for replacing if the part number of the fault is not to do it, then carry out an engine management EC. Okay. In certain cases, 2 codes separated by dash may be displayed by dash. The code head of the records to one of 2 codes, 6 characters. Okay. So that's the injector that came off. 6269. So there is the injector code 98 Mike Delta Foxtrot. You had that then, Ronnie? So we go 98 Mike Delta Foxtrot. Okay. So configure. Warning when 2 codes. Oh, yes. Configuration carried out. Start the engine, sure will do. Well, that sounds better. So, okay. Switch off the engine. Okay. Switch it on again. Okay. Switch off the engine. Okay. Switch ignition on again. Okay. So drive the vehicle to activate the programming conditions. Engine coolant must be higher than 80 degrees. The diesel injectors are programmed between 2600 and 1600 RPM. And that's what the guy said. The engine should be approximately 2600 RPM. Release the accelerator pedal until the engine is to 1600 RPM. Do not touch the pedals during this deceleration. Now remember Mike Sterrell said, Mike Sterrell, you've changed your name, Dave. Your name Mike. Dave Sterrell said that it's during the deceleration it does its learning. In case a vehicle is fitted with manual gearbox, decelerate is in gears 3, 4, 5 or 6, right? The vehicle must be driven with a road with a flat surface without bumps or potholes. That's impossible in Scotland. Check the parameter measurements. Number of complete injector programming loops. For a correct diesel injector programming operation, the number of complete programming operations should increase by 3. Okay, we'll take a photo of that. You put it on our phone, Rodney. Take a wee picture of that. I'll do that, my man. Take this. So basically, you've got to keep it in the high. Oh, how has it got a torch on here now? So we'll go OK. You have done this operation successfully. If you want to do it again, please close the connection between the. OK. So we'll just start her up. There we go. So we've got to take her around, So on a road trip, so I've got some data pulled up here so you can see diesel injector 1 rapid programming status not done. The rest are done. So if we come down, say it says injector 2 programmed, it's complete, 3's programmed, 4's programmed. And there must be this complete programming cycles of these injector. That's the one I think has to get to 3 at least. That one there. So launched pretty good in this. I was actually asking the guy who supplied us with the injector. He's a diesel specialist, what tools he used. So he said Delphi and top down. So top down's basically the launch. So in fact, here's a question for you all. Roddy and I are in the market for another scan tool because this one has currently ran out of updates. So we always like to have one scan tool that's up to date. So what would you recommend buying? So I'll leave that with you, see what you can get back with. I'll show you this when it's done. This road between 2600 RPM and letting it decelerate to 1600 RPM. And you can see our status has changed to done. But we then, oh, there we go, it says injector programming status, rapid program, 1 carried out, program complete of diesel injector, and 1 in progress. So it's still in progress with others. So we're moving the right way. So I'm sure the counter had to get up to 3. So we're currently at 0, and the rest are like 162, 163. So we're doing the right thing, but it's a slow process. Peak at rush time. Oh dear, there's a good queue of traffic behind us, boys and girls. Well, we've got 1 programming cycle done. So Roddy's taking up to 2600 RPM, then letting it fall back to 1600 RPM. So to get to 1, I think, what, 10 minutes? 15 minutes?
Aye.
10 to 15 minutes to do 1, so I'll need to check what time I started it, but that's just now reached number 2 cycle. So we'd say that took another 10 minutes, so this is not a quick process. I think maybe half an hour before it's complete. So the time is 17:17. We're now at 3 complete programming cycles. So we can go home now. So I think that's a half an hour procedure. Definitely. We'll come back out, check, see if there's any codes. We know there's 1 code. And there we go. Starting monitoring, the rise in pressure in the injection rail is too slow on starting. Now that's because we had cracked open to replace the injector. So we cracked open the rail, so that's what caused that as we built pressure back up. So it seems to be quite smooth. So we're happy with that. Anyway, cheers.